Peter Hill Explains, where I invite you to join the science teaching conversation with me about PHP commands, how I'm going to use them, and what they do basically. So people hopefully some people are looking in at the different levels of development. So some people have gotten at an early stage and heard the basic podcasts, and then heard me sort of bolt music either end of a podcast together, and then fail around a bit with the packaging of it and get that up, and then eventually get it up till there's a web image with it and it's constructed. It's sort of been a hard learning curve, or not a hard learning curve, but I feel like I'm far more comfortable using robotic software to construct image rather than using open source bundles of software on your own computer, because it just means that you can't make it transportable. You can't pick up the entire unit and take it away. You've got to ensure that the actual executables, the command line executables in your computer, are available on the next computer. So you can't just bundle up and give someone a package. So that's the ultimate aim, is to have a little package called a Podimation package to do it. But at the moment it's producing a relatively good stream of podcasts, and I'm hoping to get people in to see how to expand its reach and relevance, get it promoted in the correct circles at the moment. So it's sort of grinding slowly up, one or two few extra people a day, perhaps listening in. And of course I have assets in it, like the quizzes. Now, the majority of people out there in podcast land aren't probably students who won't benefit from it, but sort of those assets will sort of give a certain boost when it gets across a student population. Now, the actual management of quizzes and the assets, you really want to generate the quiz after you produce the program, and not yourself, but say someone else listens to it and they want to upload a quiz. Now, and that's sort of uploading a quiz and making sure the questions correspond to everything and everything's in the right place and order. It means that you really want to upload or edit accessible files, WYSIWYG files, which you have on your computer. It gets imaged to the internet. But the overall management of it eventually means that you want to have a server-side database of questions that you can just call upon, just go through, nominate a few questions to go along and score things, and add a bit more sophistication. So it's to get something up quick and nasty. It's really easy to put up a piece of HTML and to mother it, and you also got to look at the transportability. You want people to be able to eventually pick up a packet of information, which includes the podcast, the quiz. There's just a whole directory with everything internally consistent on it. So you can copy that directory and the quiz will work on your computer, because it's got the reference to the JavaScript and everything there. And if you change aspects of the JavaScript further up, upstream, it's pointing to the legacy JavaScript, which is in there. So PHP was it's not a official language. It's like a markup, HTML5, a markup language. So I don't know whether it's controlled by a committee or anything like that. With HTML5, they've actually cleaned it up, and from HTML to HTML5, certain things are allowed or disallowed, and redundancy has been removed. PHP does things like pokes around the individual computer directory. Now, you can avoid that by actually having a directory imaged up, so whatever you do there, within a few seconds your file gets uploaded and changed, so you can have it mirrored. So you can sort of avoid that a little bit. But what you really want to do is have commands executed on the server side. So when you open it up, you're a user, and you're sending requests through to a server computer for services. So when you press an icon, the computer will execute the web page will do a certain basic thing, but look, there are things in that. So you want to write a program, and you want it to read not a file, but let's say a database file, and you want it to read question 36, 38, 39, or things with a certain tag with it. So just looking up for the scaling of this to scale up. So that's PHP, and I can do sort of really basic things, but as for actually opening up a file, taking it, copying a file, maneuvering things around on the internet, so you get things. So it allows you to do certain things like have a dynamic YouTube link. You know, if you've got a resource and you want to link it to ABC and all, the sort of all the educational resources, rather than getting in and programming it, you can get it in and make a query to a database, which will pull up the closest match for you. So what will happen is that you may write a podcast on asteroids, and then you can click to the latest news without actually having to always update that particular. Oh wow, that's a fast train going past. Okay, sorry. So PHP, that's a long way off, and this is where you say, doing it yourself, it's like you can say if you've got a good solid background in robotics programming, you can actually clunk away and churn out web pages written by robotics software which responds to certain things and does text, and you can actually really reduce the amount of work that you do. So say today I produced a podcast. I just met a neighbour, had a quick chat to him, 5 minutes, then I sat down pretty well straight after it, did a quarter of an hour podcast, and then 5 minutes after that the podcast was published and finished up with a quiz. And the issue at the moment is that I do the first educational resource as I produce it, but you really want to actually do a resource, get people to critique questions. People ask a question in class, and you can say, oh, that's what sort of question that I'll include in the quiz to help people really understand it. So there's typically you produce a number of questions. Some of the questions are stupid, some are silly, some are confusing. Students don't get, they have to be reworded, and hopefully if these lessons are universally given out, we can get that feedback and automate it. I'm very conscious in pretty much the number of minutes I can actually spend per podcast, per lesson, actually doing this sort of things, and what the interest rate is, not the rate of interest, not the interest rate of these various things. So PHP, what is it? Personal home page file, something that originally was called that. I'm really going off. I do remember that it was developed originally as a caller. So when it calls the HTML page, the actual server goes through the HTML page and looks for anything which is marked out at PHP, and it will go and try and fill those commands, and basically all it does is do server-side operations like read, or I suppose it can open directories. I don't know whether it can read and write and copy files and stuff like that. I haven't really seen into that, and you want it to operate on a database which you store up there, so you've got a database interface on your computer. So I'm really scratching my head to understand how this will work down the time, and whether I should invest time in that direction, or there's other things to actually have a greater impact. What my actual goals are. I suppose my top goal is to get the strongest classroom performance absolutely possible within a certain time frame. So there's some strategies which will produce a stronger performance over a long time frame, but if I don't make that to the start of the longer time frame, that's a pretty silly thing to do. And there's other sort of natural things you want to do. So I've got a few people that I'd like to trial producing sort of different authors or speakers rather than myself, and to actually basically clone what I'm doing, so it takes a different graphic and a different introduction and different content style, so it can actually pick and place the actual wrapping of the podcast. So essentially the core podcast has been unwrapped and then bundled with audio stuff, then rewrapped, and then wrapped again with visuals, and then again it's one of these super frustrating things in terms of the upload to YouTube. I can't see how that can be automated, and you also want to, say, in YouTube add tags and links, all these features there, so that will happen down the track. But the interesting thing is that there's a very low pickup on the different media. What is it's Australian students tend to pick up YouTube more than anything else, whereas professionals work in a certain area, and iTunes all have different requirements in actually getting them to work together. And of course you can well imagine why YouTube and Facebook don't want to allow automated uploads, even though in this case it's quite just a time it's basically almost a charitable thing. It's automated upload to other people's pages, I think, might be the actual annoyance factor. So the actual structures that are there, but you check out and you read up in 2015 it's been discontinued, or 2011 that code's no longer supported, so it's actually really hard to actually get done. So the general gist is to actually increase, and I'm just really hunting around on how to actually run really good common sense tutorials, physics tutorials, and I might get an overhead camera. So I've had a few very successful YouTubes where I've actually not said anything. I've actually just shown something on a calculator and then written out to the side what I've done. It's very successful. The issue for me is the actual setup to get the camera right. Now, unfortunately, what was it? I did have a camera given to me 2 Christmases ago, and the charges was lost, and the new charger came and blew the battery, and it's just not useful. I do have a good logic. So this is another path. So it's PHP, and look, I'd say, I must admit, I thought it would be a month or 2 months before I got to MP4 format, and that just basically, once you started, you had to keep on going and been sucked into these inane things of trying to find, trying to track where the errors were, and some of the errors were mine. I'd forget to put a backslash, or I put too many backslashes, or I don't know. Sometimes I'd forget. I'd have a single parenthesis, not a single quote, rather than a double quote sign up there. So, and it's really hard to pick up some of these things, or it would work until there was a space involved, and I still have issues there. Like if I put up a title with a question mark, that's not a legitimate file type. So I've got to really scratch my head on this type of stuff to convert it in such that it is legitimate file types. That's when you try and use the naming of the file to be the title, and the entire thing is going to be a basket case unless I get a database running it. There's only really a need to have a database if I get 1 or 2 more people in. Look, invitation anyone else I like around the world who also wants to do podcasts. They can, if they really want to, they can just send me a podcast and I can include it in there. If it's about science and it's about explaining something, I'll take it for sure, and get you a photograph of you and just link it up there. There's a limit. Well, I might put out a form, basically a web form where you download. I have to think about that. So, but again, that's getting a bit ahead of myself, because that won't really work until I have a server-side database running it, because at the moment I've got only just one all-in-one desktop with a good old flash drive. Pretty excited about a flash drive on it, but the actual link to the upload to the internet goes incredibly slow. Can go incredibly slow to produce it. So the web page will be published and linked and all verified, but you out in podcast land won't be able to hear it. You're eager to hear it for several hours as it just chugs away in the background, saying, "Oh, sending a little bit of data now. Yep, I'm having a rest. I'm sending in data for the next couple of minutes. Oh, yeah, I might get up to 2 kilobytes, or sometimes 30, and it absolutely cruises at 70 kilobytes upload. It's just a really ridiculously slow upload speed, and that's essentially the way that I'm doing it. So thanks a lot for listening. That's just more there's a ramble about PHP. So I've seen it, and I just have to mentally get into where I want to do it. Do I want to do it on a sort of fake database where it's sort of a string, sort of an easily scalable sort of fake database, or do I want to actually really go the full whole hog and actually mount a database up on the server that's addressable by PHP? And that was, it's got the words nightmare written all over it, and has a support effect. And you know what? People, the level of criticism will get that the graphic is not right. People won't listen to this, or whatever it is. So it's sort of like worrying about two different things. In terms of my local critics, when they eventually get to it, will say, "Oh well, so many people a day. That's not, I can get more," even though they haven't done it. You think they would say I get more, or the graphics is incorrect, and I'm worrying about a different area, about the actual logistics, but I really think it's going to hit a certain time when it really answers students' needs precisely, teacher needs precisely. Yeah, look, I might even... Yeah, there's so much you can actually automate. It's sort of like preparing a worksheet. But the entire thing is that I've got to pull myself out of that and actually get people on the outside producing worksheets and quizzes for each podcast. And to do that, it means a distributed authorship base, and they've got to author things, and actually that they've got to go into a database to do it. So it's going to be a real tough nut to crack. But look, I might eventually get there. So there's a few interesting ideas along the way. Thanks for listening. Another podcast, another story comes to a close. It's been a pleasure sharing this moment in time with you. May you discover truly amazing things, understand them, and tell others. Thanks for listening.